Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coin Drop Podcast, episode number 59. And joining me once again, Tim. You worked today, from what I saw. How'd that go?
That's correct. I did work today. You can't even see on my shirt.
Yeah.
No, actually, maybe you can't. But in any case, yeah. I was at work today and showed off probably a solid 1,500 robots that are $1 million a piece. So yeah.
Yeah, I told you to take one, but I mean, I guess trying to sell that would not be...
It's also pretty large, so it would definitely be hard to get away with it.
They weren't small. They're like giant Roombas that move around shelves, I guess, at Amazon, right?
That is exactly what I call them. I call them the Roomba robots.
I mean, that's what they look like. I would honestly, though, dude, seeing those, I would love to get one of those in my house and put like a reclining chair on it and just fucking sit on it and play my Steam Deck and be like, I need to go get a beer. Take me to the fridge.
So what you're saying is you want to be like Wall-E,
yes.
like the people in Wall-E.
Hell yeah, all day. I'll get.
I mean, you need to stop playing your weight loss game then, so you can go back to what you used to be.
Stop shadow boxing. Gain that 30 pounds I lost back. Well, welcome back, everyone. Quick few announcements here at the top because I'm trying to reorder this to make things a little bit nicer. We do a Patreon side. If you are listening to this and did not know that, it's because we say it at the end of the episode. So we have a Patreon. Check it out, patreon.com/CoinDropPod. We do additional content over there. We also talk about upcoming games, and we are trying to do more stuff. We have hopes to do more giveaways. We did one for our anniversary, which if you were a Patreon, you got extra entries into that. There are other things we are trying to do, but that is obviously a financial barrier. We're still paying for the podcast, so trying to do any kind of giveaways is another financial cost, right? So anytime you guys feel like you want to support us, that's awesome. You can do it best over there. We also have a merch store, which right now only has one shirt and stickers on it. I put it up. It's hosted on Teespring. The link for that is in pretty much every episode since I think 57. But it will be in this episode as well. It'll be in the description if you're watching on Spotify or listening on Spotify. I will make sure that Mike puts it in the description when he uploads this on YouTube, if you're watching there. Uploads. Yep. I've been drinking. I've had a little drinking. Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, so just plugging that at the top, so maybe we see some more engagement over there. It is relatively cheap as far as podcasts go. I listen to a lot, and it sounds like a lot of everybody's tiers are significantly higher than ours. Our lowest tier is $3. Less than a cup of coffee, and it helps support us. It helps make this show possible. It helps us do more for this show. Tim and I would love to get to a point where we could do like an annual giveaway where we give away something like a Steam Deck or something like that.
Yeah, a console or whatever.
Like I would love to be able to give away a game once a quarter, like a brand new.
I would love to be able to give away a game every month, and we're talking like $70 video game, whatever's brand new. Yeah, exactly.
So
that'd be fantastic.
What we're getting at here is the more you guys support us, the more we can do stuff for you, because that's our goal. We want to do stuff for you. I'm not here to get rich. Tim's not here to get rich.
Even if that support is just liking, subscribing, and sharing on like YouTube or whatever. Even if it's just that's very helpful.
Following us on Spotify definitely helps. It increases our viewership numbers, which makes it easier to get ads run for us and things of that nature. So please consider any way you can. It's super beneficial to us. So I do want to quickly jump off of games real quick. Tim, I learned you can install mass airflows backwards yesterday. For those of you who don't know, I'll spill this story a little bit. So I needed to replace the air conditioner compressor on my car because we're going camping this weekend. So for those of you listening, I won't be here next weekend. You have noticed I will be out camping for 4th of July weekend. It'll be either a Tim and Mike show or another Tim show if he's available, or Tim, if you're not available, we might be taking the week off. I don't know.
I'm sure I'll be available.
There you go. So you will have a show next week. At the very least, Tim will be here. Anyways, I had to put a new air conditioner compressor in, and I had bought a while ago a new cold air intake for my Xterra, and I had to move over the mass airflow from the old one, and apparently you can install them backwards. And I learned that when my engine wanted to rev to about 2,000 and was trying to suffocate itself and die and would not go anywhere. Put it in correctly, hey, thing runs great. So if you're a car guy, make sure you put your mass airflow sensor back in the right direction. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
So.
That is helpful.
It is very helpful. Okay, so with that said, back on games. I have some Steam Deck news that, Tim, I want to share with you very briefly. I'm going to give you the high overview so the other audience here can hear it too. There is a side-loading software for the Steam Deck. This is not an unknown thing. If you have a Steam Deck, you might already know this if you're really deep into it. If not, here you go. It is called Decky Loader. And it is super simple to install, very easy. You literally do it from the deck. The only thing you need to do, just to make your life a little bit easier, is to have a USB-C dock so you can plug in a mouse and keyboard. If you can do a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, also awesome. But you will need a mouse and keyboard. The software installs directly onto the deck. It requires no knowledge of anything at all. It's literally run an executable file. It installs and you get it. Now, what this software does is it allows you to add apps to your Steam OS for big picture mode on the Steam Deck. So you can add stuff like Game Pause, which allows you to pause a game and then go open another game and play that game. And then you can pause that one and go back to the other one. One of the apps.
I forget what they call that on the Series S or Series X consoles.
It's like Quick Resume or something like that, if I remember correctly. So that is a thing you can do. It also has battery optimization tweaks, screen optimization tweaks, a whole host of extra software. But the biggest, most important one is you can sideload other Play stores like the EA Play Store. You can set up notifications on your deck so you get notifications when there's a new free game on Steam, on GOG, or on Epic Store. You can do all kinds of stuff. The biggest one is a software called Moonlight, which I've been using now on my TV because I have an NVIDIA Shield, and I've been using it on my Steam Deck. And that allows me to remote play everything that's on my PC on my deck if it has controller support. Doesn't matter because it's running on my PC and it's streaming to my console. So I've been playing Monster Hunter World on my PC and on my deck at technically 120 frames per second at technically 2K. Now obviously the Steam Deck can't display that, but that's what it's running, so it kind of looks better on the Steam Deck than it would if it was running natively. It also runs fantastically well. It's an entirely open source software. It's a little finicky to get set up, but if you're willing to work through it, it is 100% worth it. I can play every single game that has controller support on my PC from my deck in my house now. No issues. It is way better running than anything Steam standard remote play. Like, that is trash compared to Moonlight, Sunlight. They are fantastic software. Highly recommend if you have a Steam Deck. Tim, I'll go over more of that with you tonight. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that is just kind of our pre-ramp. I want to get through that as quick as I can so we can talk about what's on screen here. I'm going to start this off with, Tim, did you ever play Dark Messiah, Might and Magic?
I've played some of the old ones.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Dark Messiah was kind of a departure from other Might and Magic games, because if I remember correctly, a lot of them were like strategy RPG. If I remember correctly,
the original ones were those old school ones where you would move a block over at a time, and then you could look left or right. So it was sort of like puzzle kind of ish. And then they turned into almost like an early Skyrim style game or Elder Scrolls. And now that's basically what they are. They're just big open world fantasy games.
So I remember when Dark Messiah came out, I remember being too young to play it and playing it at my dad's place briefly on Xbox. Was a great game. And there is a game that looks like it is a spiritual successor to that. Keep in mind, I don't know if you knew this, the other audience might not. Dark Messiah was the groundwork for Dishonored. It was Arcane's first big game, if not their first game in general, and it kind of laid the framework for Dishonored and their later work.
So they worked on Dishonored or on Dark Messiah?
I'm pretty sure it was their first one. I'm going to pull it up and double check myself.
I don't remember Arcane working. Maybe it's some team members from Arcane.
Maybe that was
used to work on it.
Maybe
makes
that
more
was
sense.
Let me pull it up. No, it was Arcane Studios. Microsoft platform, 360 release. Arcane Studios, Kuju, Floodgate Entertainment, and Ubisoft Annexy. So it was Arcane Studios that made Dark Messiah. Anyways,
it sure is.
Yep. So that's the same studio that went on to make, everything they've made. Obviously, not Red Fail. That was
actually.
Yeah. But Dark Messiah was groundbreaking at the time, and there hasn't really been a lot of like spiritual successors of it. even though it was one of the most groundbreaking games at the time. This new game that you're seeing on screen, if you're listening, audio listeners, I do apologize. You should check this game out. It's called Alkahest. Yes. I said it right that time, right? I have an issue with the name of this game because Alkahest makes me think Alka-Seltzer, and I keep wanting to call it Alkahest.
Alkahest is what you're saying,
or whatever that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. Some stupid shit.
Yeah. To me, looking at this trailer and having watched it like 4 times now, it basically just looks like Skyrim, but with way better animation and combat and world interactivity and things of that sort. It almost looks like it would be a VR game, actually.
It does kind of have that like VR-ish interactable kind of style, you know, like just there where he flips the sword as he's pouring whatever he's pouring on it. Like that seems like something that would be an animation in a VR game, but it also is something that could have been coded as an actual animation. So, you know, there's things basically. So here's the bottom line, guys. Don't get too excited about what you're seeing on screen if you're seeing this. Yep. I literally named this section Too Good to Be True 2 because there's a lot of comparisons here that can be drawn to the day before. And this could very easily be another situation of the day before where we're seeing a game that looks unreal, amazing in every possible way, and what we got was not, right? So I would be a little bit not remiss, but wary of comparing it to the day before because the day before showed a little bit of gameplay. This it seems like they're trying to portray it as gameplay, but it's very clear it's not. It's portrayed to look like it's gameplay, but again, it's pretty clear it's not. It looks like it's done in engine, but I would also wager to say it's probably not. This to me looks like a vertical slice that was designed as a pitch trailer for them to show off, you know, their publishers or whatever, their investors to say, look what we're going to make, to get them excited about it so they can then get the funding so they can then make it. Man, there's so much good about this trailer that makes it look like, holy shit, this looks amazing. The interactivity of the world, the way you can basically alter and affect everything, the combat, the ways you can, it looks like a solid game. But it's very clearly not gameplay. So, as he said, you need to be very careful about getting excited about it. There are some sections that do look like they could be very small snippets of actual gameplay. There's some animations that look gameplay-esque. For example, like when he picks an object up, like the way he looks over at the barrel and then he just kind of grabs it and pulls it up over his head. That feels very video game. The kicks also, like the kicks for me, every time he does a kick, I'm like, that kind of seems like it'd be gameplay. That feels like, this part feels like gameplay, right? This is very...
I would say the part where he's in like a cave or whatever and he shoots the barrel, which, you know, drops the oil and then he lights the arrow and fires it. That could easily be gameplay.
Right.
Sure.
So there's some sections here where it looks like gameplay. The part where he's in the camp and he gets attacked by the goblin and then like reach backs and grabs a stool and smashes the guy. That looks like cutscene right before like you've been ambushed kind of thing. You know what I mean? But like this looks like it could be gameplay where he picks it up, throws it at him, he falls in the fire.
See, the biggest tell for me is that there are not video games where the character's head moves separate from their arms, except for maybe Mirror's Edge
and VR.
All of this has that. Every single aspect of the trailer has that, where his head moves ever so slightly away from his arms, and like you said, VR does that too. But this is clearly not VR gameplay because it would there's tells for real gameplay that this doesn't. It lacks those things, or it adds a level of realism that in the real world you would see these things, but you don't see those in games because that disorients people way more often than it wouldn't. So they removed that because again you don't want to make your player base sick or whatever. You want them to actually play your game.
Yeah.
So the fact that's in almost every aspect of this trailer. That I think for me is the biggest tell that it's clearly not gameplay.
It very well could be. If they're building this on UE5, you can do some pretty wild stuff with coding in UE5. I don't know if they are using UE5. Looking at it, it looks like it could be, but it could also be one of a million different engines. But yeah, like it definitely seems like this is a tech demo. This is a pitch demo, like you said.
Pitch demo. That's what I'd call it.
I want this game to deliver on what it's showing, even if it delivers on part of what it's showing. I think it'll be fantastic. But I cannot stress enough, take what you see in this video with a grain of salt. It looks amazing, but seriously, it could very easily be misleading. That's all I'm getting at. Now, that said, on their Steam page, because it is wishlistable, there at the end it tells you to wishlist on Steam, and they've got a link to their Discord. Alkahest is an action-adventure RPG set in a murky medieval world where satisfying melee combat with highly interactive environments takes center stage. Explore realistic locations, learn alchemy, and make a name for your family. Then, as you scroll down, it talks about some of the journey here. So we've got grounded fantasy adventure. When the sun rises over the kingdom of Canadenor? I'm going to go with Canadenor. It casts long shadows. Explore the world mired in turmoil. Is that supposed to say feudal? Feudal? F-E... I can't read. I don't know why I'm trying. When the balance of power between the three major houses is fragile. As the youngest son of a petty lord, you're no hero, and you become someone you'll have to prove... And to become someone, you'll have to prove your worth through sweat and blood. Investigating unusual goblin raids on the country border may be the chance you've been waiting for. Explore castles, villages, dungeons, blah, 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 blah. Build your combos and execute its enemies. Execute it against enemies. Like I said, I can't read. I've been drinking. Drop a tree on their heads, kick them off a cliff, blah, blah, blah. Stuff we've seen in other games. Like, that part seems real, right? Use all advantages, alchemical potions, daggers, relics, and more. Rope can be a deadly weapon in skillful hands.
So I've been thinking about it as you've spoken, and just watching this trailer now like 7 times.
Yeah.
Like, the first thought was, isn't it crazy that trailers can look as good as gameplay? And obviously they've been able to look better than gameplay for a long time, but now at this point, you can make the trailer look like gameplay when I would say in this case it's clearly not. But now that I'm starting to think about it even more, I'm almost like kind of not disgusted, that's way too strong of a term, but like put off by the fact that they're trying to display this as gameplay. I'm convinced, 100% convinced. I have no doubt whatsoever that this is not gameplay. When we finally see an actual gameplay demo or we get a demo or whatever, this will not be what we see. We might see something close, but my point in this is that like it's kind of like off-putting that they would try to display this as gameplay, knowing full well that it's not going to look like this when it comes out, even if they get really close. Even just for the very reason that I said, for the head movements alone, I hope we get as close to this as possible. But now I'm just like, I really wish they hadn't displayed it this way, or at the very least they were very clear that this was,
pre-rendered engine or something like that.
Yeah, not gameplay. They could have put like a tiny little thing at the bottom, not actual gameplay or something along those lines that you see very often in trailers,
right?
To lower expectations or to set expectations even.
Yeah,
and yeah.
That right there is the reason I'm cautioning people that this could be another Day Before situation, right? Because they're trying to sell this as gameplay, and we know better. We do. We know this isn't gameplay, but they don't put anything in here that says it's not, which means they're trying to convince you that this is what you can expect from this game. And there's been some games that have done head movement. It's not unheard of, but the level of movement in this and the fluidity of it is not normal. So either this is an incredibly ambitious title, and we're seeing a lot of mix of cutscenes and gameplay
and they've
put
already
together.
Managed to polish the fuck out of it too, because everything about this runs beautifully.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that wood splinters when the shield catches it, or I mean, just like, there's so much about this is like, wow, this is all doable. Like everything in this trailer is completely doable in a video game. So nothing's outside the realm of possibility. It's just a matter of can they actually manage to make really any of it work together.
honestly,
in such a fluid manner.
the one thing that adds such a high level of immersion to me for this game is that when he gets blood on his face or dirt on his face, it actually blurs the camera a little bit.
Yeah.
That is such a nice detail that, like, if that's actually implemented, like when that thing was just spitting at him, like you're getting globs on your actual vision on the screen. And it's such a nice detail that, like, it's the cream on the top, you know what I mean? It's that cherry just poop.
There's some stuff in the trailer that you can see some I don't know what would look like actual in-game bugs too. So like there's an enemy he kills. I think it's next to like what looks like a tomb, and when he kills it, it falls over, and you can see its leg like tweak out all funky.
Yeah.
And then there's some pretty clear video game
Jank.
tessellation. Well, yeah, jank or tessellation, as I would call it. Tessellation is basically when you see the surface of, say, snow or whatnot be actually disformed by, say, tires or footprints or whatever. Anyways, when that, I don't know, worm thing comes out of the ground when he throws the barrel, and it shoots those little worms up. Mm-hmm. The way the ground gets destroyed or moves a little bit, it doesn't look super great graphically. Like they could have done a way better job. But my point in that is that like that's the sort of step down that you'd expect in a video game.
Yeah.
Which again, even it's that layer of like smoke and mirrors that it feels like they're trying to get across.
You know what the craziest thing about all of this is to me? The only thing that makes this not look like gameplay to me is the head movement, because the lighting system, the detail, everything else is like, okay, that's nanite, okay, that's path tracing, like, okay, that's high quality meshing, okay, that's this and that. Like, you can see all of the actual tech in this, and it's, I mean, if this was real gameplay, you would need like 4090 to play it on base settings, but it's for sure. It's not impossible to do what's being shown here.
No, everything's entirely possible. The graphics aren't amazing, but they're good.
They're fantastic.
They're
good. Yeah, it's the god rays that you get, the way the debris kind of it's all stuff that.
This is the level of quality that I'd expect from a developer like, say, Naughty Dog on The Last of Us or whatever. Yeah. Like that's the type of quality that I'm seeing in this game. Like when Naughty Dog showed off The Last of Us 2, it was so good. That the things that you could do to interact with the environment was so good that even other developers are like, that's bullshit. And then all of it was actually fucking true.
Yeah.
Like even Naughty Dog was like, all right, why don't you come play it so you can see we didn't show you any bullshit. Like that's how good this trailer is. And this is coming from absolute no name.
Push On is the developer. Push On.
Absolute no name.
Here's the thing, man. It is a no name, but it's not impossible for a no name to do this. That's the wild thing. That's where it gives this game hope. Is like, yeah, I don't know.
It's possible, and it looks decent. It looks great. I just got to try and temper myself a little bit.
Yes.
knowing very well that when it comes to actual gameplay, it's going to be different. So even if it's only minor, but it's still going to be different.
I want to highlight something here. I'm going to wind this back a little bit. The action he does to block his face after he throws that bomb right there. I don't know if you're watching on your side, Tim.
Yeah.
That's the same action he does when that door gets hit. Literally the same movement.
Yeah,
so that's exactly what makes me think this isn't.
It's a canned animation, is what
right?
It is.
Yeah. So it's like
the same one,
right? Which lends it credibility.
Yes.
But it's just like, but that head movement doesn't jive with literally anything else. So I don't know.
There's a very, very, very small handful of games that do this sort of head movement. I mean, there's a lot of games that do head bobbing, but this is a very serious level of realism of the way the head moves along with the rest of the body that you don't see in the vast majority. I mean, I'm talking 99.9999% of video games.
Yeah.
And so for them to throw this into a trailer that they're not claiming this isn't actual gameplay or not final gameplay or you know, whatever. That's the problem that I'm having of Show me some real stuff so I can then know how to, set my expectations.
The issue I'm having is I'm trying to figure out from a programming standpoint, if this was gameplay, how they were getting that head movement. I'm trying to understand on the programming side, if this is what gameplay is going to look like, I don't expect it to be at all. How did they do that? How did they get the head movement from their I would assume they were doing motion capture. They'd have to be.
That's what this looks like, is a high level of motion capture.
But generally your camera, it doesn't attach to the mesh that way. The camera is still static no matter what, not no matter what, but for the most part your camera doesn't attach to your movement of your head in this fashion.
But that would be easy enough to do. The cameras are so small these days that you could easily attach one to the forehead or something like that.
I mean the camera in game, right? So the asset that we're actually seeing the world through is not the asset that's moving.
So then what you're saying is it would have to be very specifically doctored to make it look like that.
I don't know enough to say for sure, but what I can say is what you actually view with the camera in the game is its own separate mesh or art actor or whatever from the mesh that's actually moving. Yeah. So in order to get your camera to follow what your actual actor mesh is doing in the movement, I don't know how they do that. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying, and again, I don't have anywhere near the experience or knowledge to say it's not doable. I'm actually just curious of if they did it, how, is more what I'm getting at.
I would imagine that it's probably a bit more involved than what you typically see in video games, and that's one reason why it's not done. But I think the main reason why it's not done for the most part is simply for the fact that it makes people sick.
Yeah.
And it disorients people. And I mean, just Mirror's Edge itself, that disoriented tons of people. And we know VR, a good number of people can't play it because it disorients them and makes them nauseous and sick. So that is the reason why you don't see games do this, is because it makes people unable to play their game.
Yeah.
They can watch video. I mean, I even know people. I mean, sorry, Logan, I'm going to point you out again, but yeah, we have a patron that literally can't play first-person video games because they make him sick, and we're not even talking about ones like this. I imagine he probably struggling to watch this trailer over and over again.
I'm sorry about that, Logan. Maybe stick to the audio version for this one, or close your eyes and lean your head back or something, because this is a very visceral. I might give him a warning on this episode to maybe
if he's not already watching.
Yeah, I don't imagine he is. I thought it was working
on the Discord, but not about this.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, I just the other side of this is we have no idea how long this team's been working on it, right? Yeah. We have no idea the size of the team. We have no idea the who's on the team, the experience of the people on the team, and. Speaking from experience, Unreal Engine is not a hard engine to learn. You sit down and grind it out, you can be an expert in it in under a year, and build something probably very similar to this in under a year. So it's not impossible. It's a question of how dedicated. It's entirely possible, dude, that these are guys that, for more or less, are just like us. They built this because they love it, and we do this podcast because we love games. Whether it's financially, successful or not, I mean, obviously there's the hope and the goal that it is in this case more than our case, but I don't know. I don't want to spend all night on it, but it is a very impressive game from what they've shown. Trailer. Trailer, definitely trailer. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic.
Before we move on real quick, I'm just going to tell you that their recommended settings for graphics and stuff are surprisingly low. I'm going to imagine that those are going to change.
So then it's got to be using... The only thing I can think then is that they're nanite meshing everything, because nanite mesh will adjust so much that it makes it very variable. And we haven't seen a lot of reflective surfaces, so that could be helping as well, because that's where a lot of processing power is taken up. So that's possible. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to just issue a quick question. Ubisoft, are you okay? Are you... do you need help?
Probably.
You guys have been... You're struggling over there. So, for those of you who haven't heard, Ubisoft has some weirdness going on right now. God, where do I want to start? I guess we'll start with the re-announced Assassin's Creed Sands of Time. Assassin's Creed Prince of Persia Sands of Time.
It's more accurate.
That would be a very different game. Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. They announced the remake years ago, went dead, silent, never heard anything from it, and here we are again.
Actually, they announced it, and then they showed gameplay, and everyone was like, what the fuck is this piece of shit? And they were like, oh, you're right, this sucks. And then they rebooted the project, basically.
Yep. So, they moved 33 people. Actually, I don't know if it was exactly 33, but they moved some people to that team to kind of help move things along with Sands of Time. And
it recently got a 2025 release date as well, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool. So we've got a release date. So shortly after moving those people, they laid 33 off that were working on the project to quote. What was it? To Ubisoft to deliver on its ambitious roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first off, they brought these people over to help with the game, and then less than a month later, fired these 33 people.
Yeah.
And then their reasoning is to make the game better, basically.
Yeah.
And letting go of people doesn't seem like how you do that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many they moved over. This article doesn't specifically say. I don't know if they moved over 33 and then let 33 go, or if they moved over a bunch and then cut 33 back. They do not go into detail on this PC Gamer article.
My guess is they didn't lay off every single person they moved over to the project.
I don't think they did.
That'd be unlikely.
However, according to Ubisoft, and take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to anything anyone ever says to you ever. That includes us. Quote, Ubisoft Toronto, okay, they decided to lay people off. They did say that, unfortunately, this will impact 33.
Actually, I have to interrupt you because I'm pretty sure that is you said, don't trust anyone, question everything. Isn't that an Assassin's Creed quote? Isn't that like trust no one, question everything?
It's roughly like that, yeah. It's something roughly like that. I just mean, like, don't take everything with, like, okay, take everything at face value, right? Like, don't assume it's gospel, but definitely, like, consider the source, consider what's being said, consider who's saying it to you, which is why I always go every time any publisher goes, yeah, our next game is going to be our greatest game ever. Well, it fucking better be, because you don't want to make a game worse than what you've already made. So, like, consider what's being said and who's saying it to you.
Should always be improving.
Our next game, we're going to make it about half as good as the last one, but 3 times as good as the 2 before it. What?
I think the best developer I can think of that's embodied that, even if they make very small progress, is Spiders Entertainment. The guys that made the game's is the Greedfall games. There you go, Greedfall. Every game they've made past the last one, and they've been fucking. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here. Ignore me. Go ahead and go back to your game.
So Ubisoft put out a statement to PC Gamer and said, quote, unfortunately, this will impact the roles of 33 team members who will be leaving Ubisoft. We are committed to providing comprehensive support to them, including severance and career assistance to help them through this transition. So this is a far cry better. Again, taking this at face value, if they are actually doing this, it's a far cry better than what a lot of studios have been doing with their layoffs, where they're just like, yeah, fuck you. So Ubisoft, I will actually give you 2 thumbs up on that one if you actually are supporting these people, hooking them up with the severance pay, and helping them find new placement. You have actually done a layoff, which is not a bad one. So one person said maybe they were the 33 people behind Superman 64.
they just had to hold on for the next 25 years before they were finally let go for it.
They had to end that 25-year fucking deadlock contract or something. Who the fuck knows? Sorry.
Good level of contract.
But yeah, Ubisoft, if this is how they're actually handling this and those people are actually being taken care of and helped to find new positions and things like that, that's awesome. Because you're talking about people's livelihoods. These aren't teenagers. We're not talking about burger flippers at McDonald's. We're talking about people probably with families, with responsibilities, with bills. To just no notice drop people and just say, get bent, figure it out is such a fucking underhanded, dirty shit to do that Ubisoft, the industry needs to pay attention to the way you're handling this if that's actually how you are handling this.
There have been quite a few different studios or publishers that have actually done this in the past as well.
Yeah, and it should be standard practice.
I would be willing to bet actually probably more do this. They just don't necessarily tell you.
Yeah.
But just saying that they're helping these people instantly makes people feel better about these layoffs.
Yeah.
Simply because you're like, hey, we're not just screwing these people over. We're actually giving them, help on finding new work and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it just seems like obviously the right thing to do. So,
yes.
That's good news. However, some bad news for Ubisoft is, wow, shocker.
More bad news.
Yes, more bad news. Shocker. Nobody's buying Assassin's Creed on the iPhone.
Yep.
Weird.
When we say no one, we mean like 3,000 people, maybe?
Yeah, so reportedly, so Ubisoft dropped Mirage, Kojima Productions dropped Death Stranding, and Capcom dropped Resident Evil 4 Remake on the iPhone 5 series phones relatively within the same time frame. And from Games Radar here, Mobile Gamer reports based on estimates from data, blah, 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 blah. Assassin's Creed Mirage occurred between 123,000 to 279,000 free downloads since its mobile launch on June 6th. However, only 3,000 to about 5,700 people have actually paid the $49.99 fee to unlock the whole game. That is in comparison to the free-to-play Assassin's Creed Rebellion, which was downloaded by 1.9 million people in the same time period and has stronger legs after its initial launch week. And Ubisoft thought Nexus was a flop.
It makes me wonder. I would be willing to bet that Apple paid Ubisoft and these various other developers to bring their games, to it. So, like, is this a monetary loss for them, or is this monetary loss for Ubisoft? I mean, or is this just sucks to be Apple because basically they were doing their best to try and find some way into gaming or at least bring people into their phone series, and then it just failed hardcore for them. I mean, don't get me wrong, they got plenty of money to throw away in this regard. Yeah, sucks for them that didn't work out, but like, is this going to hurt Ubisoft in any way?
Yeah, I mean,
sort of my question.
That is a good question. I don't know. I would imagine Apple definitely gave Ubisoft as well as Kojima and Capcom large sacks of cash to bring their games over as this push, which I think Mike and I talked about this when they announced it. It seems really bizarre to me that the brand that pushed itself so hard as the professional brand for editing and video and for all things creative is now trying to push, well, we game too. Like, you spent so long distinguishing yourself as not the gaming thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
they're desperate to break into the most successful entertainment industry in the world. So it makes sense that they would finally try to move into it now. They're just they're doing so after basically being that jock that's like, fucking nerds, you play video games?
Yeah. Fucking loser, go get your fucking Pokemon, you fucking bitch. Yeah.
Now they're like, oh, but I want in too.
Oh, bro, Vulpix is the best.
well, you know what, Apple? No.
Yeah.
You're not invited. Stay out.
Slam that door.
Yes.
So... Death Stranding and Resident Evil didn't do much better either. Apparently, after 6 months, 7,000 players paid for the $29.99 price tag for Resident Evil 4, with Resident Evil Village tipping even slightly higher, slightly less, with 5,700 people roughly as well paying the $15.99 fee for that. Death Stranding, with its upfront cost of $20 flat, that's
a great price actually for that game.
Yeah, that's mobile. Not bad. I'm considering buying it on PC with a Steam sale going on right now. I just haven't gotten there.
Do it.
But I mean, there's other games, but yeah, that's definitely one of them that's on there. $20
should be higher up on your list. You should increase it. Hey, I was correct about Kingdom Come. All right.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But. Let me finish this line and then I'll get back to that. Death Stranding was $20 up front and they got 10,000 sales. So they actually did better than everybody else. Yeah.
Gee, it's almost like the cheap games on the cell phone sell better.
Well, so
thought.
Weirdly, yeah. I mean, go figure. Like the difference between the
Let's make Resident Evil 7 it was $50, $50 or $60. Stupid price for a cell phone game, even if it's very comparable to PS4 or 5, whatever.
Yeah,
like
the Assassin's Creed was the most expensive at $49. Resident Evil 4 was $29.99. Yeah, 7.
Yeah. They made 7 available as well. That's the one I was referencing.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So, no, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is on a pretty deep discount right now too, and seeing as how that's a $70 game, getting it at $30 is very appetizing. So
this is going to be controversial for you and everyone else, but Suicide Squad's like $20, and I'm like,
I don't care. No, not interested.
I mean, $20 is a decent price to jump in and just. See that story of I can't remember the dude's name. I'm sorry, but the Batman guy,
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, Kevin Conroy. To see his story and somewhat of it play out, just for the story, like screw everything else.
I just watched a YouTube video of how they kill him, and it's pretty not okay. I'm okay with never playing that game.
There's a lot of people that are unhappy.
Yeah. But some good news for Ubisoft and Ubisoft fans. Ubisoft has confirmed that Assassin's Creed remakes are coming.
Yes, they have.
Ubisoft CEO... Don't know how to pronounce that name, not going to try. Firstly, players can be excited about some remakes, which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. These are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are extremely rich. Secondly, to answer your question... What?
I was going to say, do you want me to say his name?
If you want to say his name, go for it. I cannot pronounce that.
It's Yves Guillemot.
Jesus Christ, I would never be able to say that. It's YVES. And that's Eves. All right, sure.
Yeah.
God damn it. I am an uneducated white man. Secondly, to answer your question, there will be plenty of experience variety. The goal is to have Assassin's Creed games come out more regularly, but not for it to be the same experience every year. There are a lot of good things to come, including Assassin's Creed Hex, which is the Salem Witch Trials game, which we still know nothing about. Could be a fucking deck builder for all we know, which we've announced, which is going to be a very different game from Assassin's Creed Shadows. So probably a deck builder, is my guess. But yeah, so there you go. They have confirmed that they are working on some remakes. They did not confirm what those remakes are. Tim, I think you froze. Yep. Oh, there. Wait. You just jerked back into reality. There you are. Okay.
So, okay, I thought it was you, but that's all good. Okay.
I mean, if it was me, we'll know on the Twitch side, I guess.
That's fine. It's whatever. Okay, I'm back. Yeah.
So yeah,
you're back, or one of us is back.
We're here. Things are happening. They have confirmed that there are some remakes on the way. Maybe we'll see Assassin's Creed 4. That seems like a likely choice. I also think I personally would love to see Assassin's Creed 1 remade, but I'm a little worried about how they would butcher it now with, all the modern things that are required in video games. So, I don't know. Mixed feelings on that. That being said, our last topic for tonight is Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. On the topics of remake. Apparently some fans are not terribly happy about this. And I'm having a hard time understanding why. Tim, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are someone was desperate for something to write an article about, and they found a couple of comments on Reddit or whatever, and we're like, "See, the fan base is upset." Yeah, instead of actually, that's what I think this is.
So it's another case of Anthem bricking systems.
Yeah. I mean, what game doesn't come out these days and quote brick systems?
Yeah,
I think there's only been like one confirmed case of it actually happening.
Yeah. Well, I remember when that came out and like the world was blowing up and everybody was citing everybody, but it goes back to one post on Reddit saying this guy like it reset his system. It didn't brick his system and it just blew up.
It's almost like Star Wars Battlefront 2 and that fiasco that was invented.
Still got that hate mail. Still got that death threat.
Yeah.
Love that. I want to get it framed and put it on my wall. That was the greatest email I ever got. Was a death threat from some incoherent rambling. It was amazing.
Yeah, we were gonna get like the guy was gonna reach out to the developer and get us thrown in jail or something like that as well.
Yeah. Some wild shit that man said. It's great. Made for a lot of laughs.
That was impressive.
So, did you play 3? I got to be honest, I did not. I played a little bit of 3, but like, I definitely did not get through 3.
So when 3 came out, I had played MGS 1 on the PS1 and MGS 2 on the PS2. When 3 came out, I didn't have the money to buy it, and I remember being very jealous of a friend, but I didn't have the chance to get it. And by the time I'd moved on. I don't remember what happened, but I know I'd moved on. Fast forward years, and they released it on 3DS, which is well after 4 came out, and I loved it. I think it was quite possibly one of the best games on PS3, like hands down, amazing. Anyway, so I went back to the 3DS version simply because it had the crouch run that MGS4 introduced into the series. But by that point, I had sort of already given up on 3DS, and trying to force myself to play the 3DS just to play that game was too much to ask, more or less. And so, no, I never really officially played this game. So this one's one that I'm actually excited about because I can actually play it on a modern platform.
Yeah. I think the remake looks great. I think...
Oh, yeah. I think it does, too.
There's something to be said about when you're an artist, right? Like, of any sort. And at what point does your art... I don't want to say outshine, but like outlast its creator. You know what I mean? So like, for example, Studio Ghibli, right? Dude has come out of retirement numerous times because he is the guy who makes the films, right? Like that's just, he'll always be a filmmaker. He will always be Studio Ghibli. And Kojima gave us the insane mindfuck and incredibly complex story that is Metal Gear Solid, which is why I've avoided it for so long, because I can't catch up at this point.
Convoluted is the appropriate word.
Yeah,
yes.
Incredibly convoluted. But this is more than just a remake to me. This is a chance to get into a franchise that I wanted to for so long that never really got to because I was too young to be good at these games to make it through them. I got through Metal Gear Solid 1 and it took me so fucking long to get through that game. Dude, it took me forever to figure out the goddamn frequency you needed was on the back of the goddamn CD case. Let alone Psycho Mantis. Like, I really wish they would have done some sort of like the whole series, or at least maybe 1, 2, and 3 in this style as like a collection. Well, so obviously that's asking a lot, don't get me wrong, but that would be a way for people like you to get into them and then play the whole series, because in my opinion, these games, all of them hold up and they are 100% worth going back to. Here's the thing though.
That's how good they are.
3 is technically the first in chronological order in the Solid franchise.
This is true.
It's entirely possible they're going in chronological order.
That's actually not Solid Snake.
Right, that's Naked Snake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
which
that's Big Boss.
The OG.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the OG Snake.
So I know
not Solid.
I know a little bit of the incredibly convoluted story, but yeah. So, dude, the tip of the very tip of the iceberg. Like, not we're talking like 7 miles in the air to like 6.99 miles in the air is where I'm at. Like, I've got the very tip of that iceberg because it's a deep one. So I'm hopeful, and I'm wondering if their thought process is the same here. Again, like, I get the fucking fallout and you know, the people who are on Kojima's side and the issues with Kojima and Konami. I don't want to dismiss that whole kerfuffle by any means, but you have to ask yourself, at what point does what you create get to take on a life of its own, right? Kojima doesn't own Metal Gear, unfortunately.
Nope.
Konami does, and they are well within their rights to make a remake. interestingly, they didn't record any new dialogue, so it's all the same dialogue from the first game. I linked an article. So I don't know if you. Yep.
I actually pretty sure I saw an article earlier that specified that they kept all of the original dialogue, but some of it was redone for new dialogue, which is different from what they initially said. They did initially say they didn't do any new dialogue, but I didn't read the entirety of the article, so I don't actually know how much or how large of sections they are, or what's been recorded, been re-recorded. I mean,
yeah. So it sounds like maybe they're going to add some content. Maybe they remastered some stuff, that voice lines that they recorded that they didn't use for cut content. I mean, we knew, God of War 1, I think, to get on Kronos was supposed to have this huge fucking mission to get on top of Kronos, to get into Pandora's maze or whatever, that they had to cut because they just couldn't do it. So, like, we know cut content in games is a thing. It's always been a thing. So maybe they've remastered that dialogue from stuff they had to cut to put it back in this. That would be really cool to see some content that never came to fruition in the past.
That would be cool.
So I don't know. I think there is some controversy around this. I personally am glad that Konami they have the balls really to step up and release a game that they own, but it's not theirs, right? Like,
yeah, they own the rights to it, but this belongs to Kojima.
Yeah.
And for them to try and do something new would feel like them stepping on the legacy of Kojima.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't feel right.
There are people who say that this is stepping on the legacy of Kojima, and I can understand that view, but at the same time, I disagree. I think this is the safe choice, and it's the right choice.
Yeah.
Because
I would agree.
We are old men at this point, man. I did an internet install for somebody who is an adult that was born after 9/11. Let that just sink in. An adult born after 9/11. It took me a while to process that.
Yeah.
I did an install for another person who is an adult and never played Ocarina of Time. They were born after, and it's just these aren't like huge revelations by any means, but it's shocking to like consider them from my point of view, and I'm sure yours, where it's like, oh yeah, we are getting up there. So there are people who don't even know Metal Gear exists that are probably adults.
This kind of goes along with what we said last week when it comes to Perfect Dark, how it's totally different from the previous games, but it makes sense because it's for a new generation. And while this is the original game, like, it's not a whole lot different. It just looks prettier for the most part. And to add to the re-recorded voice lines, the only thing that's new is in the tutorial when they're specifically and more particularly talking about the controls, which are obviously different because PlayStation 2 versus PS5.
Right. Yeah, huge jumps.
There's going to be some slightly different stuff.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, everything else is the same. There's no recasting.
Nice.
But yeah, MGS... It's a phenomenal franchise, and this is a really good place to start. If it sells really well, then hopefully we'll see that MGS 1 and then MGS 2 and then MGS 4, because that would... I don't think you can play MGS 4 anywhere outside the PS3 still.
No, yeah, it's still locked there. Still forbidden, kind of... I still have my PS3 mostly for that game, because eventually I do want to play it.
I wish they would do 4 next, just because the multiplayer was so much fucking fun.
I remember you telling me about the multiplayer.
So freaking good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, MGS 5 multiplayer was something that I enjoyed. I did actually play it because it felt like 4, but there was something about 4 that just felt perfect. Might be the wrong term, but it felt so good. It felt like SOCOM meets Metal Gear with the stealth. It was so good. It was so very good, and I would love to see that happen again. Even if they just ported the damn thing, but I feel like we're probably going to get a series of remakes over the course of the years.
I would be okay with that. Well. Yeah, I would be. Too. Yeah, I'd be 100% cool with that, because I played, like I said, I played Metal Gear Solid 1. I played through it on the PS1. It took me fucking forever. I don't know that I ever played 2. I played a little bit of 3. Mostly watched my brother play it and a couple of friends, and then that was pretty much it until 4. And I never really got that far in 4 because I'm like, I am so fucking lost on what's going on. I don't understand. I likely have snake change.
What I'm curious about is, Kojima's gonna say something about this eventually. He's obviously moved on and he's got plenty of other projects to worry about, but he's gonna say something about this.
Well,
and if it does well, and let's say they move on and make MGS1 remake or 2 remake or whatever, is he gonna eventually give them his blessing to make a sequel? You know, MGS6 or whatever. Like, even if he does give them his blessing, how are they going to manage to match his mind for the series?
You can't. They already tried. They made Metal Gear Survive, and it was a very big departure from the franchise. And it was not a mainline Metal Gear game. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it personally. I still haven't beaten it, but
I enjoyed Survive too. But it was clearly a asset flip.
Yeah.
And on MGS5, and then obviously keeping up with the survival /
tower defense.
Or I guess just really survival. Yeah, survival tower defense craze at the time.
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't know that Kojima is over Metal Gear. He announced that he was working on a spiritual successor to Metal Gear. Like, he's got a... I don't see him being... He's a pretty laid-back dude from what I can tell. So I don't see him being, like, tearing up Konami about this. He's either going to have something to say and it'll be, like... cut deep but not be super aggressive, or he'll just let it slide.
I don't think he's necessarily over it. I just mean that he's moved on. He's okay with the fact that he's not involved in it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's probably got a bajillion ideas to come out with more video games in the series if he was still working there. And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. When he had the split from Konami, like, I don't even really know what it was about. I don't know if it was ever explained. They just had a beef, and they basically said "fuck you" to each other and walked their separate ways. Like, I honestly don't know why that happened. So for all I know, it's as shallow as could be, or as deep as could be, and there's hurt feelings, and they're gonna hate each other forever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. But I'm really curious to see what he's got to say. He tweets quite frequently, and it's usually about food. Like almost always about food. So. When you say laid back, yes.
Yeah.
He's quite laid back.
Yeah.
But he's always working on something, and he straight up said he's going to be working on entertainment for the rest of his life. So we've always got something to look forward to from him.
Yeah. So I don't know. I can understand diehard fans being mad Konami's doing this, but as a casual fan of the franchise, I'm really happy with this. I'm excited for it. I want to play it. I'm excited to see what they did to rebuild it.
I guess I don't know if you can call me a diehard fan since I've never properly played this game, but I've played all the others, like all of the others, including PSP and stuff, and loved all of them. And I love the series, and I have a pretty good grasp about the storyline and the different snakes and all that other shit because it's fucking crazy. But I'm excited for this because it's making a classic that I never got a chance to properly play playable in modern tech, and it looks great. And they're doing it in such a way that it's just they're not changing anything, so I know I don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
It's just prettier.
Yep, true story. Well, that is kind of our last main topic. Tim, why don't we hit some rapid fire news? We're getting close to the hour here, so let's fire out some quick fire news and move on over to our Patreon side. What do you got for us?
Okay, so the big news of the week, the big quick fire news of the week.
Sure.
Dr. Disrespect, pretty much one of the most popular streamers that exists, fucked up his life. More or less everything that he had going for him is done for. His game studios dropped him. All the promotional things he had with the different companies has dropped him. He's a pedophile. I don't know if he's actually an acting one, but it came out that I believe it was in 2017, so like 7 years ago.
God damn.
He was sexting a minor and planned to meet said minor at, I think it was Gamescom or another convention. And Twitch knew about it. All sorts of people knew about it. But they decided not to say anything for a while for some reason. I don't know why it only came out just now, but the reason why I'm saying it the way I am is because he himself has confirmed this information. This isn't, speculative.
Yeah, this is fact.
He's all fact, including from him. So, yeah, he's a bad dude. I've never liked him simply because I don't like the persona he gave out. I can see why people did, but I just don't like him. And sucks to be him. You either live long enough to what was that term?
It's
live long
you either
enough to
die the hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Yeah, he's a villain. That's what it is. He was always a villain, in my opinion. Though his content was always rage baity and like, I never really cared for him either. But dude, pedo, really? Go fucking die. Go die in a fucking ditch, poor and penniless and fucking broken. Fuck you.
Apparently, this all happened the year that he cheated on his wife as well. So
probably
it makes me
with
wonder.
A child. Fucking freak. Yeah. God damn it.
Anyways, moving on from that guy, Final Fantasy XIV, the Dawn Trail expansion, launched in early access yesterday, and it comes with a graphics update, which is mostly for the new areas for the time being, which means I can't access them. I can see the faces on characters, the grass, and some various other small things, but for the most part,
the grapes, right? The grapes are gone, aren't they?
Actually, I don't think so.
Oh. I know that was a big talk, though. The low
that was a
grapes.
big talk, and there was a lot of people that were upset about the grapes. Actually, they actually did include a
the low poly grape thing.
Item.
Yeah.
No, they added a home decoration that's low poly.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome.
yes.
That's so awesome.
So that one's available. If you pre-order it, you can play it now, and it comes. I think it's like the 2nd of July or something like that. This is when it officially launches. Warhammer Space Marine 2 canceled their beta to, quote, focus on the best possible launch, which is odd to me. Typically, betas allow them to like focus or see areas that they themselves couldn't see because they're focused on other things. They're developers, and people get to play it and point out these broken areas or things they don't like, so they can change things up and so on and so forth. I guess that's what their plan is. I hope it works. If I'm not mistaken, it comes out in September, and the game does look pretty darn great. So I hope this doesn't hinder them in any way, shape, or form. Next bit of news is Dead Rising Remaster got an announcement, and Frank, I think is his name, if I remember correctly now.
Yep.
Frank, he's a totally different person now. He's dressed the same as he was in the previous or in the original, but he looks like a different man, totally different face. What's the actor's name again that I said earlier?
David Harbour.
David Harbour, the guy from Stranger Things. He looks way more like that guy now. He doesn't look quite 1-to-1, but he looks way more like that guy, and it almost makes me wonder if they did it on purpose. But in any case, Dead Rising is getting a remaster. Microsoft has a new deal with Amazon for Fire Sticks or select Fire Sticks or Fire TVs, where no console required. You can get. I actually don't know if it's Game Pass or streaming. I would assume it's streaming, but you can basically play their games via Amazon devices. So that's just yet more reason to not buy an Xbox console, because why would you do that at this point? And last but not least, Minecraft is finally, 4 years later, getting a native PlayStation 5 version. They haven't really specified what that means, but I'm sure you can expect the higher resolution and higher frame rate along with that. I can't imagine really anything else is going to come with it. But maybe we'll get ray tracing like they promised 8 years ago or whatever.
Ray tracing in Minecraft, huh? Weird.
Yeah, they actually showed off a ray tracing version of it, a native ray tracing version of it for Xbox. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and then canceled it for some reason or another. And it looked great, but it never happened for some reason. Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Once again, I will be out next weekend. I will be camping with the wife and daughter. It's my last planned trip currently. After that, we'll be back to normal. And I am still planning on going to PAX. So I'll be doing one from an Airbnb on the west side at some point late August. Make sure you check out the Patreon if you want to help support us, and we will see you guys next time.
Well, as just one quick addition, as he says, check out the Patreon because we have more to talk about tonight.
Yep, we're going over there right now. So tell your mom I said hi, and have a good night.